and welcome to Girl Talk, Taking Care of Us. I am the host, Nicole D. Miller. I'm an author, blogger. I do a lot of things in addition to hosting this event. I'm so excited to have you guys here today. We started Girl Talk about 2 years ago. We started virtually. We're a panelist of 6 women. We talked about feminism. So we tend to tackle heavy-hitting topics that are dealing with women's issues. This month, we're going to discuss women's health, so I'm going to let my friends here introduce themselves. But before we do that, I just want to shout out our sponsors. A special thank you to Mas LeRae, as well as Breakthrough Sounds. They're doing our production. Check them out. We're here at Unbar Cafe. If you are in the area, stop through. We're off Larchmere. Special thank you to Melissa. And then we have Teen Enterprise. They actually help train up young teens in the inner city to become entrepreneurs. So, without further ado, I would like for each of my guests to just introduce themselves, share who they are, why they're here, and we'll take it from there. So, Gloria, we'll start with you and just go down the line.
Okay, my name is Gloria Terry. I am a licensed and ordained minister of the Gospel of Jesus Christ. I am a certified grief recovery specialist. I also work part-time as a family liaison through Akron Public Schools at Barber Community Learning Center. And I am the director and founder of a nonprofit organization called Grace Academy of Small Wonders, where I work with elementary girls around godly character, spiritual awareness, mental well-being, social skills, and etiquette. And I am here to support the mission of taking care of us because it's so very important, especially in today's culture, to take care of us as women.
Oh, perfect. Hi, friends. How are you? Beautiful. Well, my name is Ariel Baker, RN MSN. I'm a registered nurse of 10 years. I also have my master's in nursing education. My primary specialty focuses on oncology, hematology, and hospice. I'm also an instructor here in Cleveland. I teach a step class, and I'm a certified personal trainer. I primarily focus on preventative care in African American community and in holistic care, totaling your mind, body, and spirit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Johnson. Everybody calls me MJ for short. I'm the owner of Vitamin Candy brand. I also specialize in health and wellness, mental, physical, and spiritual. I own a couple of vegan restaurants and a herbal store. I'm heavy into herbalism. I am a certified personal trainer, GNA genetic testing, wellness instructor, and I'm also a group fitness instructor. There's so many different things that I can name right now, but I'll be here all day. I am here today to talk about how you can tap into your holistic self, mental, physical, and spiritual, but in the vegan world without sacrificing any taste or anything like that.
Ooh, that's a lot to follow, y'all. Well, I'm Gigi. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I work with the body because a lot of times we don't focus on our body as much as we focus on our mind and energy, and it all goes hand in hand. So I'm here to promote the self-care on the physical side.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I am Dr. Shamara. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I focus on the mind. I am the owner of Serene Counseling and Wellness. It's a concierge approach to mental health therapy. I'm also the owner of the Serene Foundation, which is a nonprofit that I pour into girls. We have an AAU team, and then I have the Melanated Minds Network, which focus on melanated individuals to focus on mind, body, and spirit and how it all can go together to work with your mental health.
So, as you guys can see, we have some heavy-hitting gurus in the house. I roll with nothing less. I should add, I do own a publishing company. I'm like, okay, they got all this stuff. I do other stuff too. But yeah, so the thing about Girl Talk is we're laid back. I know we kind of looking nice tonight and everybody is came to, show up, but it's really about a safe space for women to pour out, let their hair down. Female leaders are constantly doing the most, constantly bending over backwards, keeping everything afloat, and our health often can be sacrificed, especially in inner city urban communities. So that's why these women were chosen to discuss this topic, various aspects of women's health. The way that we'll kick it off is I'll I will ask a question. They have a choice if they want to pass. If they don't feel comfortable answering, they can pass. So don't feel pressured to answer. And then we'll kind of switch up the order a couple of times, but we're going to start with Dr. Shamara and just take it this way. And the first question is, what are your thoughts in general on women prioritizing or not prioritizing their health, and why?
I believe health is number one. So I deal with mental health, but when it comes to physical health, if that's not aligned in the sense of going to the doctor when you need to go to get a physical, get blood work, that leads to other aspects being out of line as well. Even when to working out. So I can tell you for existence, it's hard for me to work out, but I try to do it. I have a trainer, and I understand when I'm not aligned with working out every 3 times a week at 5 a.m., my whole week is shot. It's literally shot, and I can feel it. I'll go to bed early. I usually can go to bed at 11 p.m. if I work out. So I understand and be in tune with my body to understand that physical fitness, whether it's going to see a doctor or actually doing physical fitness, is essential to keeping your mental health together.
Why you steal my stuff? I don't appreciate that. Anywho, I feel like as women, we don't prioritize our health as we should. We focus more so on the physical, our hair, our nails, and we neglect our body. And our body is our main source of functioning. We sometimes read books to educate our mind and to progress our mind, but what about the body that holds that mind? We neglect that a whole lot. And I feel like that's something we need to get more into, not just necessarily blood work or going to the doctors, because sometimes your body has the opportunity in the physical situation to handle itself.
I believe you have to work from the inside out. You got to start there first. We are so caught up with the physical aspect of it, the tangible things, but what about the intangible? And we have to work from the inside out. If your spirit ain't right, nothing else going to be right.
I love that you guys touched on how we pay attention to the exterior, but maybe not the interior. And I think, especially with Black women, hair done, nails done, everything done. But, depression, anxiety, just really stumbling and struggling inside. So I'm glad you guys brought that to our attention. Ari?
Yeah, I absolutely feel like health and wellness as Black women and women in general, when we prioritize our health, it's usually contingent on what's going on in our lives. A lot of times we don't pour into ourselves when we're required to pour more into everybody else. So our health and our wellness gets put on the back burner. And as you stated, I think you have to work on the inside first, especially as a wellness coach and a personal trainer. I have found that a lot of people are using fitness as a Band-Aid, something to cover up what's going on in their life. So I've done it before, when I was depressed and when I'm sad or I'm going through anxiety, I'll go to the gym 5 times a day. I'm the opposite. Some people run from the gym. Some people throw themselves and immerse themselves into the gym. So as a woman, I think that you have to find your flow into relation to what's going on with your life. Like, it has to be something that's grounded and set in your routine, no matter if you're having a good day, a bad day, finances are off, spirituality is off. It has to be something that you find and you ground within yourself in order to be consistent.
So to piggyback on what everyone else says, yes, and it does start with an awareness, taking care of yourself. First, having that awareness that you need to take care of yourself, because our culture just drives us to achieve and to get more and to work harder, and having an awareness that I need to first start with me, because we are spirit first, and then we're a spirit with a soul, having a human existence and a body. So to go along with what everyone else says, it's just having that awareness as well, and then moving in that direction, and then being aware when you're off, when you're expending more time pouring into others and you're not pouring into yourself. So I think awareness is very key.
Thank you guys for sharing. So the next question is, how is the urban community uniquely affected by challenges in our health, and how do you see that play out in your field? Gloria, do you want to start? And then we'll take it this way.
Ooh, I need to think about
Okay.
that one. That was a heavy
You want to
question.
start, Ari? I know you see it.
Oh, I love that question. People of color or anybody going through lower socioeconomic standings. People who are more so poverty driven are automatically at a knowledge deficit and are statistically behind in health and wellness just because they don't have the resources and the assets in order to tap in. So example, if you grow up in the hood, I like to just talk real. So if you grow up in the hood, you see a gas station on the corner, a liquor store, you go down the street up to the suburb, you see a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's. If you're a person who doesn't have money, you can't waste gas, or you might not have a car, or the bus route may not go to those areas, or you might not have enough money for a bus pass to take you to transfer. So therefore, going up to the liquor store, or corner store, convenience store, you rather get box foods or canned goods, things like that you can afford, and that's going to affect us physically on the inside. Inside in our bodies and how we present when it comes to chronic illness like diabetes and hypertension and heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the Black community. So when it comes to being, impoverished and things like that, we're just automatically a step back behind people who are more privileged or placed in environments where they can thrive. So that's just how I feel like that.
I just love that you touched on those topics, that in inner city and urban communities, there's a lack of resources, and that affects our lack of options. One of the things I really struggle with is food deserts. They're normally in the Black community, but even in Black suburbs, I'm vegan. We have a vegan nutritionist here. And I just get so frustrated that I can't just go down the street and get healthy options, where when I was on the West Side, where it was more gentrified or more white people were populated there, it was in plenty. And I even think about my own experience with working out. I started running distance in my 20s, but that's because my white roommates hit me to running distance. Not to say Black people don't, but if you're living in the hood, you ain't trying to run out there, unless you're getting chased by something.
There's no trees.
No trees.
Exactly. So when you have limited options, you're going to have limited resources to be healthier.
And I can piggyback off that. Being in the mental health, there's not really many therapists who look like us. So that gives us the opportunity to say, I'm not going to receive the help. And when we do find the therapist that looks like us, they simply work the 9 to 5. And so what happens? People of our color work second shift. They're single parents. They work third shift. They really can. If I stop going to work at 9 to 5 to come to therapy, that's bringing more burden on myself. And so that's what brought me to the approach of the concierge approach to, mental health therapy. We're just not 9 to 5. We go nights, we go weekends, we go, meet you where you're at, because we understand that you just can't go to therapy 9 to 5 and then expect to find an African American therapist as that. So that's one thing that kicks it. It's not a lot of therapists that look African American out there.
And I just wanted to contribute in terms of the stigma too, if we're talking about mental well-being as well too. In the Black community, there definitely still exists a stigma around mental illness and mental well-being. So I know one of the things we're tasked to do is to educate our Black community, and especially those who may be at a lower economic level in society, to help them to understand that mental health is just as important as physical health. It's a holistic approach to health.
Honestly, we weren't taught self-care. We weren't taught mental health self-care, physical, none of that. We starting to learn it now. And when you come from a background where they don't teach that, where your parents ain't show you how to take care of your mental health when you having a breakdown or you have those type of disabilities, you don't know how to handle it. It's just now coming aware to a lot of us. I have a beautiful friend who has a son who is autistic. But she got that environment to help her learn how to function with that son with his disabilities. A lot of people don't have that, and it's not available to everybody. And as far as the therapist, even finding Black therapists, you need to find the right therapist, the one you can communicate with, connect with on a personal level. I done been through several therapists, let me tell you, girl.
You ain't been through me.
Listen, I probably would stress you out. You would quit messing with me. You would quit, let me tell you. But even, just like I said, just finding a therapist, it's easy to find therapists, even outside of the normal 9 to 5. It's just finding that therapist that connects with you on that level where you at mentally. Because A lot of times a therapist be, don't take this the wrong way, expecting you to be at a different level than where you are mentally. They have to learn how to meet you at that level.
I'll just say Dr. Shamara is my therapist, so she knows how to meet you. I'm just putting that out there.
I'm not saying she don't.
But Gigi is also my massage therapist.
And therapist.
Ari is my workout instructor. Gloria was my writing mentor. And then I'm just vibing with MJ because she's a vegan beast doing her thing. So I'm just trying to get in her space.
Thank you. Thank you.
So all of these women are qualified for sure. Is there anything you want to add?
I like to piggyback off of what Ari said about the urban communities, and this is another reason why I started my business in all of the urban communities. I own vegan restaurants, and I started out with cafes, and I did it middle ground. So I started with the pescatarian and vegan, just to reel them in, because it's the stigma about how we eat is not real food. Well, everybody don't make fake food. Like, it's people out there that really know how to cook, men and women, some children, that really know how to chef it up. And so I did this on purpose so that I can give our community the advantage of having something very healthy on the grab and go aspect instead of going to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and all that stuff. And changing their minds about how healthy food, good food can taste. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to taste like grass. So you can go somewhere and look and find somebody to look like you that can educate you. So I did that to pull them in, and then after I got them in the door, then I started teaching. Oh, you know, I'm a certified instructor. You know, I know about, you know, herbalism, and I know about CBD and how it can help your body, and you ain't got to get high. And, you know, I know how to make wine that is conducive to the body that's going to flush you versus you feeling like you're drunk, you know, stuff like that. So I started educating, and I am so blessed to be able to touch in 4 different communities now. And I pray to expand even more and help other people do that, because we don't have that at our advantage. Myself, I shop at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. I'm more of in the farming aspect now because I did my research and education and became an urban farmer so that I can do the farm to table method. But a lot of us don't think that way, and more so now than ever because of the technology that we have. Everybody is just, come on, lazy. They're lazy, flat out lazy. And if you don't have a parent that didn't come from that or is not reaching to get to that point, then they're going to teach the kids the same thing. So as a unit, we should keep doing what we're doing. I think in all aspects. I got a therapist too, and I love my therapist. I mean, like, she the bomb. And we don't even know that we need it until we get there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to add. I just wanted to talk about that in the urban community. So it is options out there. I'm so pumped. Like, we here, Unbar, she has healthy options. We got Convenient Vegan down the street, the Cleveland Vegan Club around the corner. Like, it's a whole bunch of them in the community, but if you're not looking for it, then you won't know where it's at.
I definitely agree with that statement. If you guys didn't notice, so this is more about holistic health. This isn't just one aspect of health. So we have mental, emotional experts, we have nutrition, physical training, medical training, massage therapy, because I'm about wholeness and so are these women. So the next question is, what is your specific experience as a woman dealing with your nutrition, your body image, any body distortion, dieting, your mental health, your spirituality? Who wants to kick us off?
I will.
Okay, go ahead,
It's like me and Ari fighting for the big. Who's gonna go first? So this is right up my alley because I am Vitamin Candy. I started my business because of myself. I lost over 120 pounds, and I did that the natural way. People swore up and down. I was like taking all these medications, and I ran and had all this surgery and all that stuff. But only the people that know, they know, you know. There's a lot of people in the city that can vouch for that. But the most important thing about it is the funny thing is when I was overweight, I didn't even see myself that way because my life was so bogged down with everything else. I was in college. I was doing hair, had a full-time job, and even I was teaching in the schools, working with autistic children. And so to see myself now, not even knowing I had all that going on, and then I took it back around for a circle to make my brand what it is today. You couldn't have told me in a million years that I'll be teaching people about this, but what you put in is what you get out, is where I'm trying to get at. Like, what you put in is what you get out. And if you do not start with how you're feeding yourself internally, you're never going to get to that next level in life, mentally or physically.
Oh, no, it's perfect. I love that. I know, and I love how your journey's progressed and how you're focused on like the herbal and everything like that. Because I want to dive deep into that a little bit more. But so my story is a little darker. I talked about this earlier this weekend. I feel like God is pushing me to talk more about it. I stopped talking about this because I was a little ashamed about it, and I was talking to Nicole about it last month. But I think society has told us that Black women don't have eating disorders. So when I was a child, I was overweight. I mean, I was statistically overweight. I was about 150 pounds in the 5th grade, and I stayed there for a while. I'm 165 now. So for a long time, I always felt less than everybody else because I was bigger for my age back then. And this is before the concept of body shaming was like taboo. You know, they just, kids were mean. They just called you fat. And I first started suffering from anorexia in 9th grade. Hindsight, realized I just stopped eating because I wanted to be thin. Started running track, and that kind of masked what was going on because now I had a way to work out and lose weight, and it benefited me because I got to end up getting a scholarship. But I had my son I got pregnant at 19. I had my son when I was 20, and I gained a lot of weight. I went from 145 to 216, and I didn't lose any of it. And I didn't know who I was outside of track, and I didn't know who I was outside of being a petite person. And so that drove me into becoming a bulimic, someone who suffers from bulimia. And it happened when I became a personal trainer because I couldn't deal with the pressure of everybody constantly staring at me not be able to fit what they wanted me to be. I think that's what we do a lot. We measure our worth based off of what people say we are. So if I gained 5 pounds, I knew my trainer would be mad at me. I would have a meal, go make myself sick. I started being on camera with a really famous fitness instructor here in Cleveland. I couldn't afford to gain a pound, make myself sick. So I feel like the concept of body dysmorphia, I had got all the way down to 140 pounds, which is small for me, and I still thought I was fat. Nothing was ever good enough. I would work out 5 times a day, 5 hours a day, wouldn't eat anything at all. I would look in the mirror, still not good enough. I need to fix this, this, and this. And the more I talk to women who are like me, the more I realize it wasn't just me, that we all kind of suffer from body dysmorphia. In our minds, we look worse than what we actually are. And everybody else around us is like, you look fine, what's the problem? But it doesn't matter what they think, because if how you feel about yourself isn't aligned, then anybody can give you compliments. You will always pick and choose the negativity. Isn't it funny how we can believe the negative things that people say about us, but not the positive? So sad. But yeah, so that's just my story in relation to that.
Thank you so much, Aria, for your vulnerability. And as you said, you and I connected on that. So I have a very similar story. I struggled with my weight growing up, and I was dieting. I had a short stint of anorexia, but then in high school suffered from bulimia. And I think the thing about it is I didn't even know that was a mental health thing, until I was an adult. Oh, that was my mental health. There's a distortion in how I perceived myself. Yeah, I was a little thick, but, it was like, girl, why are you tripping? Yeah. But it doesn't matter what the truth is, it's what your mind believes. Yes. And I can see back then I used it as a control mechanism. If I could control my weight, because I couldn't control my circumstances, because there was some difficult things happening at home, there was some emotional abuse or verbal abuse and things of that nature, but I can control my weight. And unfortunately, by control was vomiting. And it got to the point where I was hiding bags of vomit underneath my bed. And I would be at school making myself throw up, and somebody told a counselor, and they called me in, and what did I do? I lied. And I remember, I think it was junior year, I was sitting there, and there was a teacher that I really connected with, and everything in my spirit cried out I wanted to confess, but I was in such bondage that I couldn't. And for me, it wasn't until college when I had a spiritual experience with God, I had a supernatural deliverance from that. But then what happened? I gained 60 pounds because now I'm not purging anymore. So now I'm struggling with being even bigger. And it took even more years for me to find a balance And I'm finally free from that. And I experienced a lot of teaching from my spiritual mom and health coach, Rhonda Sharpley, who's here. And I really was able to change my eating habit and renew my mind, but it was definitely partnering with the Holy Spirit because I couldn't have done it on my own. So, and I think one of the things too is we don't talk about those things in the Black community. So when I did open up with a friend years ago about it, you know, she was from the hood. Her view was, you know, people who are Black don't do that, you know, but they do. And so even when I heard Ari's story, I was like, yeah, I'm not alone. So that's why we create this space, to let you guys know that you're not alone.
And the one thing that you said was that's something that I can control. So mine was the opposite. I didn't think I can control anything. So I had depression and anxiety and didn't realize I had depression and anxiety because growing up, we didn't talk about depression and anxiety. Even though I felt like I had an outlet with basketball, I still had those situations where I felt like I was losing it all. So I was so determined to get to college because I grew up with my parents who were drug and alcoholics. So my grandmother raised me. And so I didn't have them there. So, and then my friends would sell my mother drugs. So that was another, like, just anxiety out the goo-hoo. But I remember in college, it was when I got a full scholarship to college. I thought I was like, I'm going to make it. You know, I'm going to get through college. My grandmother's not going to have, you know, she's not going to have to pay for anything. And then all of a sudden, I had a conversation with my mom before basketball practice. Why? I don't know. I get to basketball practice and like my teammates didn't want to be around me. I was always angry. Like, I'm supposed to be the leading scorer, but they like, you are horrible. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, am I really horrible? And it's just like I was so depressed. And we got to the point where we had a horrible practice. And my coach was like, who wants to be here? And, you know, who don't want to be here? And I raised my hand. And he said, well, go back to your room and you need to figure out what you're going to do because you're no longer going to have a scholarship. That's when I said, oh, I need some help. Like, I cannot lose this. I'm gonna go back to an environment that I don't want to be in because I haven't really worked through the trauma that, you know, that was there. And so I continued to suffer through depression, anxiety. I don't know how I made it through college with a 3.8 because I was always like by myself, isolated, didn't want to do anything, slept. If it wasn't for school and practice, I didn't do much. It was just, and so it was after college when I said, want to be a clinical psychologist. I guess I got to go through therapy now. I can't help people if I can't help myself. And so that's when I started the cognitive distortions that we see about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. And so that's when I align myself with anything around me is positive. Like the shirt is the piece for me. Like I have to have positivity around me in order to not go backwards. Because just because you work through something doesn't mean you can't go backwards. You got to continue to work on it and build it because we get comfortable and, you know, just understanding your body. Like I'm getting comfortable, like I can feel it coming. So I need to put myself in a bigger position around the community, you know, do things that's going to be outside my comfort zone so I can continue to not go back to that depression and anxiety. So that's my story.
And I just wanted to add, wow, cognitive distortions. So that's the way we think. And that's why I also believe it's very important to understand that we're spirit first, because there's a scripture in 1 Samuel that says, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. So we live in a culture that's driven by how we look on the outside. And that's very unfortunate because I see the impact of that, how we look, your hair, your nails, your body, your weight, your height, and how it's impacting our children and their mental well-being. I work part-time at the elementary school, and I have to work with children who are getting their image from television and culture and social media. And so my approach with that, remembering that we're spirit first, is to remind girls that your body is a temple. What makes you beautiful is not how you look on the outside. It has some bearing, but it's not the totality of who you are. Who are you on the inside? Are you kind? Are you loving? Are you honest? And helping them to understand that their body is a temple and it houses the Holy Spirit. So I think we need to have that awareness that culture itself, even we as adults, can be driven And especially, I'm an elder now in the earth. As an older individual in our society can tell us that because I'm older, that you have no value because you don't look a certain way, you're aging, you're losing your hair, thinning hair, wrinkles, and all of these things. So we really have to get that word. The word meaning how we think, so we won't have those cognitive distortions in who we are, because we're very valuable as spirit, made in the image and likeness of God.
Pass.
All right. Thank you, guys. Kind of piggybacking off of that, how have the examples of women in your family shaped your personal view on mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual health?
I can answer that because my grandmother is like, she's amazing. I can say that I've learned spiritual because she's very Southern. So the spiritual foundation was there. Like, you go to church, God is your foundation. The physical of her just being selfless. I learned how to truly, truly be selfless, understanding that, I'm here to help others, but she also had great boundaries. And so many times in African American families, we really didn't understand that, boundaries, because, parents will do anything for their children. And so my grandmother did anything for us, but she also set boundaries and understanding what her limits were. And so I learned that. And so she also taught me, she's very meek, she's very little. And so she really wasn't, what I did learn that I had to transfer to my kids is she wasn't very huggy and kissy. And so I knew she loved me by the work she did for me, not so much of her saying, I love you, good night, reading me a story. When she woke up every morning to cook me a meal, I knew that was her way of showing that she loved me. But then I said, when I grew up, I was like, that was something that I was missing. And so that's what I transferred to my kids. But it's still the simple fact that she taught me. I was just amazed, like, just thinking it back when we think about it, like, she really had boundaries. Mm-hmm. She knew her limits. Like, she did not, like, she was so little, she didn't play. But I see my other cousins, like, their grandparents, they did everything. They would be tired. Like, I got to go do this, I got to go do that. My grandma used to say, I'm not doing it. And I used to be like, oh. And so now looking back, I'm like, okay, I understand. I'm not doing it. Like, I can still love you and not do it. Yeah.
So my mom is probably watching this. She might be watching it. I love you, mommy. It's fine. So I was raised primarily by my mom. I had a stepdad, but my dad wasn't in my life. And my mother was the very depiction and standard of what we call, quote unquote, a strong black woman. She made good money. My sister has cerebral palsy, 9 years older than me, and her mom, my grandmother, has schizophrenia, so she took care of everybody in the household. And with her being that strong black woman mold and blueprint for me, I can't tell if it helped me or harmed me. Because for a long time, I couldn't figure out how to function in relationships without having to do everything. Because I saw her do everything. When I would get in a relationship with a man, I wouldn't require him to do anything for me. Or I wouldn't know how to be soft and pull back until maybe just within the last few years, where I just was so exhausted with having to carry so much his whatever's going on with him. And my son has autism, so me being an autism mom and me being a personal trainer, having to carry a little bit of everybody's everything and being a nurse. And when I really thought about it, as I got older and matured, I learned how to pull from the things that I noticed that benefited from her to apply them to my life and let go of the things that I noticed may have hindered her. Like, my partner is not my enemy. My partner is not my competition. I shouldn't be with somebody if I feel like I have to constantly beg for assistance and for help. Also, at the same time, being able to learn how to be accountable. Like, maybe sometimes I am the problem. Like, I didn't need to speak to him in that manner, or I didn't need to, start conflict with him. But a lot of times, as Black women, when we see that strong Black woman aspect, that's all we know how to do. Because, and I'm an 80s, 90s babies, that's all they said. Ride or die, strong Black woman, ride or die, strong Black woman. But at what point do we get to take a break? At what point do we don't have to be a ride or die where someone can advocate for us when we're not at our best? So, yeah, she was the number one woman in my life. So thank you, Mommy. I know you watching. Hey.
I just wanted to talk about my mother. She's no longer here with me. She died in 2014. Yet I remember when I was a little girl, when you talk about mental well-being, I noticed that my mom had a mom and my dad didn't have a mother. And I asked my mother what happened to my father's mother, who would have been my grandmother, and my grandmother actually committed suicide. And so as a little girl, me noticing that and having that conversation with my mom and her being transparent and honest, she didn't sugarcoat it, yet she answered in a way that was understandable for a child, and her openness, which encouraged a conversation, a much needed conversation, that helped me mentally to know and understand that people can have struggles and that I had a safe place where I could go and talk to my mother and that she would be honest with me and better understand my father, who was an alcoholic, grew up with an alcoholic, and just imagining him was the one who found her in the basement of the home that he grew up in and how that impacted him. And he would talk about it a little bit, but not as open as my mother. So in looking back, when you talked about how I was influenced by that, just her honesty and openness, that life is not perfect and people can have struggles and challenges and do very horrific things, but you still can recover from that. And just her, the vehicle of love, I'll say that too. Even how she handled my father and his drinking, and because he could be very brass at times. Yet me, as young as I was, I never would take it personal. I think I wanted to be a psychologist at 5, and I'm like, oh, well, he lost his mother, So the transparency, but my sister she didn't take it like that. However, just different personalities, but just the component of love and being open and honest and transparent. And as you were saying, sometimes we don't want to admit things about ourselves. And that's the worst person that you can lie to is yourself. We can't lie to God because he's going to know anyway. But when we lie to ourselves and we won't admit the truth, that can create a mental illness.
Now that's deep. I feel like we should drop the mic on that one. You lie to yourself, you create a mental illness. I'll share my story. So I was raised by my mom and grandma. Those are my parents. So I definitely learned by watching. I think we all, it's caught, not taught. And what I learned was you work hard. Unfortunately, you can develop a survivor's mentality. And that's something that I saw myself functioning in as an adult. Unfortunately, I didn't need to survive. I was free, but I still had that mentality and kind of default back to it, where I would be trying to be overly independent. I had injured myself and I could barely walk, but I'm up here driving and cleaning the house and, doing all the things. And God's like, sit down. Like, this is why you injured, So I think in those ways I caught some negative experiences, but definitely a strong spiritual influence there. The mental and emotional health aspect, it wasn't there. They didn't know. They walked in the light that they had. And when you're a first generational person who's breaking curses and starting a new legacy in your bloodline, you're the example. You're the first, right? So then you find people in your community who are on that same path too, and you guys figure it out together. But I didn't have those examples, but then I was able to find others who are on that path.
My mama. Everything I do is because of my mama. I was raised in a household with both my parents. I'm the middle child, so I got the best of both worlds, named after my mama's mama. My grandfather used to say, Mary, you the reincarnation of your grandmother. And I think I knew around probably like 5, 7 years old that I had like a special gift, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. But my mama, oh, I get chills every time I talk about my mama. I'm just so blessed to have her here to be able to bounce ideas off of, talk to about any and everything. And one thing I did take from her growing up, I have a lot of sisters, a whole lot of siblings. My mother didn't raise all of us in the same household because my dad had a previous wife before my mom, but everybody was her kids. Even to the point to where they were property managers of an apartment building, and they moved them into the building so that my mom can make sure that my sisters were taken care of because of their mother's drug addiction. And my mother never let us look at each other different. My brother showed up on the doorstep, and we like, that's your son, you know, because he looked just like you. But my mama, she is the epitome of strength, and everything that you can think of that represents excellence. She taught me how to love myself first, and also how to be open and don't take no shorts either, because if you do, people walk all over you. But I gotta throw my daddy in there a little bit, because I get my softer side from my mom, but I get my toughness and grit from my dad. And didn't matter what those two went through, she always said, do as I tell you and don't do what you see me do. And some things I didn't agree with how my father would act, but I love my daddy. That's my guy. That's my main man right there. Because I see so much of much of him in me. I look just like him, but I'm my mother's daughter, if that make any sense. But who she is today, my mother had been through so much, and she was the one that kind of was like the middle ground for her family, and she's an identical twin. The thing that sticks with me, and it's probably gonna stick with me to the day that I die, is that she never judged the book by its cover, and she always say, put yourself in another person's shoes. But just stand on who you are, stand in what you believe in, and don't never back down from that, because that's the only way that you'll be able to stay true to yourself. So her representation, I think she is the epitome of what women look like, and everything, the reason why I am who I am today. Ma, if you watching this, I love you, girl.
So I was raised in a grandparent household, raised by my grandmother and my grandfather. My mom was in and out of the house. She was on drugs. Kind of opposite of you. My grandmother showed me how to be tough and how to be strong and how to still show love and compassion. But my grandfather showed me my softer side. So my grandfather was the more, relaxed. Let's think how this is going to make us feel. How is this going to affect us in the future? Where my grandmother, on the other hand, you can handle it. You can be strong. You can multitask. You can work 2-3 jobs and still function and things of that nature. And I love my grandmother for that, because it allowed me to expand how I feel about things. And okay, yeah, I'm going to school here and I'm working this job. It showed me how to multitask as an individual, but it also showed me that my mental state is at a good place to where I can do that. Mm-hmm. So it was like real touching for me. My mother, on the other hand, showed me how to handle life at a different aspect, that no matter how many times it knocks you down, that you can get back up, and that it don't have to be the end. Back to my grandmother, she did a whole lot of say what you mean and mean what you say. And a lot of that falls into my business when I massage people. I put a lot of intent behind it. It's not just words when I talk to you. Nicole can tell you. Anytime I have given her massage and other clients as well, I speak life into people. And I got that from my grandmother.
Gigi will get you all together if you need a massage.
I'm coming to get a massage.
Now, if you start crying on the table, I'm telling you now, you're going to go in one ear out there. I'm going to be there for you, though.
Did you share? I can't remember. Okay.
I share again.
All right, guys. So how do the emotional, mental, physical and spiritual components of health affect each other. I think we touched a little bit on this, but if you have anything else to add or any personal anecdotes, for example, if you're depressed, how does that affect your prayer life, your weight, etc.? You guys have anything else to add?
So, we hold a lot of emotions in our bodies, and we don't think about it. Like a lot of your stress, your sadness, you hold in your neck. Trauma that you hold on from your past, you hold in your shoulders, and it's literally in your muscles. A lot of times we feel like we just got a crick in our neck, or, oh, I slept wrong. A lot of times that's your body telling you, you got to let go of something that you're holding on to. On a spiritual level, on a mental level, I know a lot of people who holds on to like trauma from being a kid, and it sits in their body and they never know why. My shoulder never felt better. My shoulder, I can't never really reach my arm up as much. And then once they start talking about that emotional aspect and releasing some of that, a lot of that times that release a lot of muscle in your body.
I want to add, you really have to, how can I put this? Get with somebody that can hold you accountable. Find you a mentor, somebody that is going to help you just release all of that too. Outside of your mental therapist, outside of your personal trainer, it could be a family member, you know, it don't always have to be like the closest friend. Somebody that's just gonna hold you accountable too, because I find that the circle that I do have, the older we get, the smaller they are, right? And but I thank God for everybody that crossed my path, because it made me who I am today. But just get somebody that holds you accountable to make you stay within that mental, physical, and spiritual realm. I want to share this short story with you guys. I did my first bodybuilding competition back in 2016. At the time, I had so much going on, and like Ari said, I used physical fitness as my, I guess, my therapy at the time. I was just like, I was going hard. I was doing like 6 classes a day. I was working out with the classes. I was with my personal trainer, still eating well, but I was overdoing it. And you can't overwork yourself. It is a such thing called overwork. And it was time for me to get on the stage. Now, I just told y'all I came from 120 pounds, right? The smallest I've ever been is 124. And I'm ready, I'm stage ready, because you have to be all like vascular and all this kind of stuff, get all the water out your body. The day before, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I did. But wait, it gets better. My trainer was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we've been training all this time, but he didn't know that I was using that to just kind of like mask all the other things that were going on in my life. And one good friend, I don't know if you guys know Monica Green, but Monica Green is an amazing, amazing hairstylist, motivational speaker, so many more things.
Was she your live?
Yes, she was. She was training with me at the time. And I think he called her and told her that I said I wasn't going to do it. Now, she watching me every single day. She called me, and she said, MJ, are you crazy? I was like, what? And she like, I'm crying and stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I was having an emotional breakdown. Didn't even know why I was having this emotional breakdown. Just like, I don't look right. I got this loose skin. I'm not getting up there like that. You see those women that I got to stand next to, and she like, you went through all of that? But she made me strip down. I had these big mirrors in my living room. She said, get up right now. I said, okay. She said, you know the mirrors you always taking selfies in front of? I said, yeah. She said, go stand in front of it. I said, all right. I went to the mirror. She said, look at yourself. So I'm looking, I'm crying. I'm like, but I don't really want to look at myself because I don't look cute when I cry. She like, well, I want you to just stare yourself in the eye. And I don't know if you guys ever did this before, but you really see your soul when you do that. Like, this is the first time that I ever like really saw myself. And she was like, she was like, take off your shirt. I want you to take off your first layer of clothes. So she had me keep going, and I peeled everything off until I stripped completely down. That was the first time that I had really seen myself, and it gave me the motivation to keep going, regardless of how much loose skin I had, because then at that point I saw that I had broke through that shell that I had been covered by for so long, or whatever type of thing I thought I was doing to make me look so good. and I had cracked through, and now I was born, I had arrived. So she was my accountability person. I didn't even know that I had. She was watching me every single day and was like, I'll be damned if you're not going to get on this stage. And I did it. I got on that stage with that loose skin with 35 other phenomenal women. I took home 5th place, but I won first because I was acknowledged at the person that I knew that I was then. Because when I got there, I knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? Before, I was just like, oh, no, but I had to get broken down to be built back up, and I appreciated her for that. So get somebody that's going to hold you accountable.
Isn't it crazy you find comfort in the strangest of people? I have a hairstylist too. And when I tell you she pushed me with my business, keep going, keep doing it. Go ahead, change your mind. You gonna do it? I ain't doing it. Yes, you are. You gonna do it today. She holds me accountable all the way through. Nicole holds me accountable. My friend Monique holds me accountable. Even when I go to a grocery store, I have a random cashier that asks me all the time. I go to the same grocery store, John Emilio on Transportation. She asks me all the time, so what you do today? Did you do work on business? I was like, I'll tell her yes, I know her. I'll tell her how my day go. She was like, okay, now you got to have them flyers together. We need to start passing them out. You come back in here, you better have them flyers. But it's so crazy how you just run into people from like hairstylists to the store to right here in the cafe. Like, you'll run into somebody that'll hold you accountable and you never really notice it.
Yeah, and practice that. I still do that to this day, guys, every single day. I pray, thank God for waking me up in the morning. As soon as I hit the bathroom, I look myself in the eye. I've been doing it ever since 2016. Like, hey, girl. And then I start my day. Just have my little, morning, little mantras or whatever. But look yourself in the eye, you'll see yourself.
Well, special shout out to the Hairstylist Ministry. Okay. Did you want to share, Gloria?
I was just thinking too, what we hear, the importance of having a village, and I think we, especially in the Black community, need to go back to the village, whether it's grandparents, an accountability partner, grandmother, auntie, sisters. Yet I realize too, there's a point and a place. All of those things are good, yet you can get to a point in a place, and maybe God will take all of us there, where no one is going to meet you at that place except Him. And I remember going through a very dark season in my life where I went through 3 years of depression. I didn't leave the house. I didn't shave. I didn't shower. I didn't personal hygiene. I didn't eat. I was so thin. Preteen clothes fell off of me. And I was a believer at the time. I was a Christian, and I was going through so much in my personal life and being in a very toxic, unhealthy relationship, and all these things were coming at me. I made the decision that I was not going to engage in life. And people were really surprised. They were really concerned. As I told you, my grandmother committed suicide. So my father was really, really concerned about his daughter. I was a daddy's girl too. And it was like I was locked in prison into my own thoughts. That's why it's very, very important too for us to think about what we're thinking about. Because the things that I was thinking about were actually lies that I believed. And that's when I believe the demonic can get into our thought processes. We can believe a lie rather than the truth. Yet, my friends came around me. I had one friend who was going to beat me over the head with the Bible. I went through so much. My family, they were calling me. I didn't go to church. Yet, when I would go to sleep, I would dream about being in church. And someone told me, even though you weren't in church, the church was still in you. And I realized God allowed me to go through that season because it actually drew me closer to Him through a dark place. So accountability partners are good, supportive family and parents and grandparents and all of those things. Yet I believe as we journey through this life that there are going to come those seasons. We see it in the book of Job. Where Job lost everything, and even his friends, they came and sat with him, and they comforted him until they opened their mouths and said the wrong thing. There is a point and place where it's just you and God. And it's a place of struggle, but he'll meet you right there. Because what I realized too, that God was in the darkness right with me. And 3 things I learned out of that experience as well. I learned that there's nothing like the power of love. I learned that God never steps away from us. We step away from him, but he never steps away from us. And I learned that the demonic and hell is real and the demonic is real. And not even thinking of hell from a place of a lake of fire. Think of hell as a place that God is not going to be, and God is love. So we see how our world is broken today, and we have love through human beings, even though we love the best we can in our broken filters. Yet imagine an existence where there's no love. I mean, that's frightening in and of itself. So going through that place of depression for 3 years when I didn't come out the house. Yes, I didn't come out and I remember one time my sister, she was so funny. She dragged me out the house to go to this church service. And when we got to the church service, she thought she was going to drag me up to that altar, right? And I just put my heels in. I would not move. And she was pulling on me, and I was no, and she was pulling on me. And finally, one of the ladies said, just leave her alone, and you go to the altar and pray for your sister. And it was a place that I had to walk by myself. And it was hard. It was a struggle, it was a challenge, but when I got to the other side, it was like I was a different and new person. So I just wanted to add that too. There is a place that's solely just for us and God.
Thank you, Gloria. And she is here representing our spirituality segment. We are kind of winding things down, so I do want to hear from the other panelists. I feel like we kind of touched a little bit on this with tips, because I want to give people resources, tips, things to help them. I know that MJ talked about accountability, we talked about a village, we got the hairstylist ministry. One of the things I'll personally share, I think about my first book inspired by a really difficult breakup in college called How to Overcome Heartbreak, and that was my first major devastating experience, where my identity was so wrapped up in it, I wouldn't have come out of it if it wasn't for faith and community. So having those people in my life for sure, but I had to learn my identity outside of that relationship. I had to learn my purpose. I had to learn my destiny, my gifts and talents. You need things to motivate you, especially when you're dealing with depression and anxiety. Even after my mom passed, I would wake up and be like, why am I here? Why am I here? I would keep asking God, I can't find my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. Not knowing that it was writing and that it was going to birth all of this. And so one of the things I said in our last segment was just give yourself or give God one more day. Sometimes when you're in those spaces, it's like, just give yourself one more day to get that breakthrough. But I want to hear from the other panelists to just piggyback on tips or practices that have helped them and that can help others with navigating, those hardships or things that affect our health.
So for me, I'm big on community as well, but I'm also an introvert, so I really don't like people. But I love people at the same time. And so when it came to depression, me spending time with myself was something that I loved. So putting that on depression really don't seem right. Like, you want to spend time with yourself and you depressed. That just don't work together. But during that time of me being my introvert, I truly found the things that I truly loved. Like, as a kid, we color. Like, that's the first thing as kindergartners, 3-year-olds, your parents will say, come on, let's sit here and color. Not understand how therapeutic it really is. And so as you get older, that is something that you can still do. It helps you focus. It helps you concentrate. It helps you meditate. Just by coloring, you have all of that in one thing. So when you think about it, it's the simple things that you really, truly understand about yourself that will help you grow outward to get you to be more into the community. So listening to music, that helps a lot of people. Reading books, not even reading, listening to Audible. So it's 2024, so we got Audible books, we got everything. It's more so, and not just surfing the internet, because that just does not help all the time, but being intentional with your time. When you have 5 minutes to yourself, turning your brain off, not thinking about anything that you're worried about, understanding that this is the time that I'm going to spend with myself, God, whomever, right there, sitting 10 minutes in the car. See, all these little small things lead up to a big thing. And so we take for granted the small things that we do have, and not understanding that, you know, as women, our self-care doesn't always have to be our hair, our nails, you know, going to get a massage. Don't get me wrong, they all great, but just finding what we have and what we already have around us to really, really hone into understanding yourself. That's going to make you lead to the larger things.
So you just gonna cut me out of there like that?
I said they all great. I go get them aside. But, you know, some people just ain't got it.
So we just gonna skip past that.
ladies.
Go get them aside.
And we'll hear from Ari, and then we're going to go into our Q&A segment.
Oh, okay. So I would say it's almost similar to what you were saying. I was just thinking in my mind. So it means I need to say, because God will speak through you over and over again, so someone in the crowd can get the message. Like, embrace your season of solitude. Little small story. I was in a relationship that was very volatile, mostly mentally for me, but it had become physical. And it was at the point where he was getting ready to throw me down the stairs, where I snapped out of it. Before him, it's a moral to the story. Before him, I needed somebody to go to the movies with me. I needed someone to go to a restaurant with me. I couldn't go to a concert by myself. I needed a man with me. I needed a friend with me. I was not comfortable with just being alone. But that scary moment where my life flashed before my eyes and I thought that I would not see tomorrow, and I had to think for a second, do I have enough money in my bank account where my son can be taken care of if I'm not here? Woke me up. And for a long time, for about a year and a half after that, I went into a season of solitude, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. So like you said, God will tear you all the way down to build you back up. I had to, people who I thought was my friends, when I started sharing my story, like, hey, this is happening to me, people who I thought were in my corner disappeared. And then I couldn't share it with certain people because, you know, people who love you really want to defend you. So I was too scared to tell because I'm like, he might not be here tomorrow. Right. So I went to a season of solitude, and that's when I learned to love myself. I went on my first concert, and I looked around. I'm like, this is nice. I started going to the restaurants by myself. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm saving money. You know what I'm trying to say? I get to leave when I want to. I don't have to pacify other people in their schedules. So if you're in this room today, in this crowd, and you're conflicted between, because I hear people say it all the time, girl, I could never go to the movies by myself, and please, try it. You're going to love it. Learn how to like yourself enough to be in your own company, in your own space. That, outside of eating healthy and working out, I just enjoy my alone time to the point where it's almost become toxic because I can do without anything or anybody if they force me into that. I know what it feels like to be alone and to only have God. And I'm not afraid to go back there. You know what I'm trying to say? So, yes, embrace being by yourself sometimes. Don't always look for everybody to fill you up. You should be able to fill yourself up.
Thank you so much, especially for touching on self-love, being alone. I struggled with the fear of being alone for years and have walked that out for 20 years and overcome. Thank you, Lord. But I do want to transition into our next segment of Girl Talk. We're so grateful to have all of you guys here. It just blesses me. I see some familiar faces. So this is your time. This is your time to ask the panelists anything that's on your heart, anything that stood out to you, especially since this is a special Girl Talk where everyone has a specialized field, mental health, emotional health, physical nutrition, anything that's on your heart.
So I am currently taking care of my mom who has dementia. And I have not found very good resources to deal with what is going on in our family. So I just want to know what the panel would have to say about women who might be taking care of a loved one or a family member with any type of disease.
I can answer that. My dad actually has dementia. And I think he's the sweetest person now since childhood. But I did find, I know in the beginning stages, they'd be a little angry and it's just all over the place. I would say for us, thankfully I have enough people that can help around the clock, but we just let him be. If your mom wants to go fold the clothes 15 times, let her do that. My dad was very musically inclined. He liked to play the bongos. He liked his clothes. Don't touch his clothes. Even though he can't fit some of it, it's familiar. So we got a closet. We let him go in there. My daddy checked them clothes like 3 times a day. And he got a bongo. We bought him a small little bongo, and he'll just tap and like to watch his show. So just let her be. Don't take nothing personal, because they're going back into like childhood stages. And give yourself some grace too. So if you got somebody that can give you a break, you got to take some time, because they're going to be all right. Don't think that because you're not there, she's not going to be all right.
I would add to that as well. My grandmother's 90, so she's showing signs of dementia now, and we noticed that it's a schedule, and so we know between a certain time, this between 12 and 3. That is her most aggravating time, and she'll do the same thing over and over again, and she'll call and she'll be like, I don't understand where I'm going to lay my head, knowing that she has a whole house. People are there to help her. So it's really understanding, like she said, understanding what is their structure, what is their schedule now, and understanding that it's nothing against you. They're going to forget your name 50 million times. You're going to be like, I'm your daughter. They might not say I love, there's nothing against you, but there is also a memory care facility in Macedonia, and I'm going to get you the name because my friend's grandmother is in dementia now, and she went there, and they absolutely love it. And it's just for them to get the education, because her family are all nurses, but at the end of the day, they had to do self-care, and so that's what they went there for, the education, to help family, get the education that they need.
And I just want to ask, are you asking for yourself, or can you clarify the question?
Well, I'm asking for myself because her family is not helping us. It's myself and my 2 younger brothers. So we're doing everything by ourselves.
Okay.
Just haven't found really good resources, trying to figure out what she qualifies for, or her medical. Thank goodness she has all of she knew, and she didn't tell us. And she got everything set up, with her house and, all of that, but the day-to-day care has been left up to us. And it's just, we haven't been able to find a lot of information. I talked to the Alzheimer's Association. They really don't recommend it. They'll send you to a class, but they can't say, well, if you go over here, this person can help you with bathing, this person can help you, with finances. They don't give a lot of that. So it's kind of been frustrating.
And where are you located? In the Cleveland?
She's in Bedford Heights.
Okay, because I'm in Akron. I could tell you resources in Akron, but I couldn't speak to the resources here in Cleveland.
I would say my dad is in his Buckeye Health program. They come to the house. Like, they have a therapist that come and walk. Like, he don't want to walk with us. He'll walk with them. And if, like he's got a thing, I think he flipped back and forth sometime because he feel like he always been a protector of us. So if it's a woman, he don't really want the woman helping him. But we got a man on purpose. So he comes 3 times a week, Buckeye Health. And you can use the insurance that she have to take care of it.
And what I can do too, I can give you the resources in Akron, and then maybe they can connect you to resources in this area as well.
Thank you, guys. Is there anyone else with a question or a comment? Contribution to our Girl Talk panel? We used to do this virtual, so that gave people a space to shoot their questions and comments in our chat. So this is the chat box. Take advantage. Hey, Lenise.
Hi. Sorry. Sorry, I'm nervous, but it feels like all of you all have found your purpose, and if anyone could give advice on how you know when you're moving in your purpose, or when just say you feel like you're good at something, but how do you know if you should pursue it and follow it through all the way?
We love that you asked that. Thank you.
I can't speak for nobody else besides myself, but for me, it felt different. It felt like that's where I was supposed to be. It felt like when I started massage therapy, at first it just felt like work. But when I got more into it, it felt like that's where I was supposed to be. It felt intentional. It felt like home. And I think once it started feeling like home to you, that's your purpose.
I got this word from a man named Mike Berry. He's known in Cleveland. I don't know if you guys know him. I love him to death. First, you have to identify the difference between your passion and your purpose. Passion is very emotionally driven. Purpose is you can't sleep at night. Example, I love to teach. STEP is my passion, education is my purpose. So you can put me in any room and I want to educate. Purpose won't let you give up. Example, like I was just thinking, God will send people in your life to encourage you right when you feel like you're done. I would be sitting at a restaurant ordering food and I'll be thinking like, you know what, I'm done with these classes, I'm exhausted. I don't feel full from doing them because I feel like I'm pouring more than I'm getting. And someone will walk up to me and be like, hey, I know you. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Keep. And it's like, God, did you do that on purpose? And that's how you know you're in your purpose. Like, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning like, I need to do this, this, and this, and this. If it won't let you go, you can try to walk away from it, but it will follow you everywhere you go. That's your purpose. So if you're in something right now and you can do without it and leaving it gives you peace, probably not your purpose. Leaving it should make you uncomfortable. You shouldn't be able to breathe properly if you're not in it. So that's what I think purpose is.
And I would just say to remember to go back to the purpose giver and saying that, developing your prayer life. And that struggle that I talk about, the struggle is real, even getting clarity of what your purpose is. For me, I know my purpose came out of a place of pain, a place of heartache, a place of challenge, and yet it's a place of peace. Because as she said, in terms of purpose versus passion, your purpose, it drives you. You can't let go of it. And God will confirm your purpose as you first deepen and develop that relationship with him, because he wants us first to have the relationship with him and that intimacy, because God does speak to us when we quiet our minds, when we open our hearts. Sometimes we have that hard shell around our hearts because we got to be strong, we got to be tough, and just we got to go drive, we got to achieve. And God said, peace. Get in that solitude place, that quiet place. Talk to me. Share your fears. Share your concerns. And God will begin to open doors. He'll set people, as the individuals were saying, to confirm. And you'll know. You'll know when you're on that right path.
So I definitely want to share a little bit. It's funny, Ari and I were talking before we got started, and she's like, so how did you get into writing? Like, weren't you an accountant? Didn't you do accounting? So my background is marketing and accounting. I did not go to school for journalism, communications, English, nothing creative, okay? It's like, I could be as far away from the creative space as possible when it comes to my degrees. But what started happening was I started blogging during downtime at work. And I wrote a blog called How to Overcome Heartbreak. And I was very transparent about my experience, and so many people resonated with it. And I knew God was like, this is your first book. And that first book led to the second and the third and the fourth. And the thing is, I ended up falling in love with writing. I never felt in love with accounting. Like, I enjoyed bookkeeping. I enjoyed working and having stability, and I like the way that math is. My brain works that way. I'm left-brained. I use all of that in entrepreneurship, by the way. That's the only reason y'all are here, is because I do my own bookkeeping, and I have to run my business in order to be, sustainable. You can't just be a creative. You'll just be flying in the wind if you don't have the business part. But anyways, but my point is, I fell in love. I fell in love with what I was doing. I would be out with my friends and they trying to still kick it. And I'm like, I got to go home and write this novel, and I'm at the computer for 8 hours a day and not even realizing it, because I am in this space co-creating with my creator and developing something new. So I think it's about that feeling Gigi said, and what everyone is saying up here, your passion. It's just like, it takes you to a new level and a new space of your identity, of awakening to your identity. And if it's not doing that, it's probably not it, because what you're called to do in this earth is to impact others. Your gift inside of you is made to touch other people.
And I just wanted to share too. I shared that I started the nonprofit organization Grace Academy of Small Wonders. I started Grace Academy of Small Wonders after being healed from a toxic marriage where my ex-husband sexually abused our daughter. We had been married just about 20 years. It took her a bit of time before she told me. And this has happened in the late 1990s. And to experience something that hard and difficult, and at that time there were very little resources, that was something that in my mind happened to other people. It didn't happen to our family. So it was an arrest. My son, we had 2 children together. My son acted out. It was just turmoil. Yet as I walked through that very painful process, and over time and doing the things I needed to do, being honest with myself, reaching out to the community for support and family support, and God began to heal me. Then I had a dream, and in that dream, it was my call to start the Grace Academy of Small Wonders. So working with little girls today, so no other little girl will ever have to go through what my daughter went through. So as Nicole said, your purpose is pouring into someone else. And for me, I know for me, it came out of a place of pain and heartache, yet a place of hope, and hope where you can give back to someone else.
I think we're gonna take another question, unless you wanna. Did you wanna?
Oh, I just, if it don't fit, don't force it. Let it come naturally. You know what I'm saying? You will know. But you got ask God to order your steps. Ask him like talk to God like he your homie. Hey God, what's up? Order my steps, but you got to confess it with your tongue, because that's how the manifestation process happens, right? Don't force yourself to come up with something just because of what's going on around you. Remember, we talked about social media, and everything is like right here at arm's reach. And I know we didn't have that growing up. I'm an 80s, 90s baby too, and it's like, I guess I'm on the fence with everything for real. I got an old soul. I was raised by old schools, so for me, I naturally knew. I'm an educator at heart. I was educating in the class at 5 years old. I remember being in kindergarten telling people what to do, but I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? But everything that you have experienced up until this date has groomed you for what your purpose is. It's there, but you just trying to force it out. You gotta let it come. Digress. Chill a little bit. Don't
My
be
niece
so
is
hard on
also
yourself.
20-something, so you have time.
Yeah, you got a lot of time.
I definitely didn't discover this part of my purpose until my mid-30s, so you have time. So we'll take one more question, and then we have to transition to the next segment.
I didn't really have a question. I was just going to make a comment. I just wanted to say that this group is so inspiring, and I think that I can speak for the majority of everyone in here, that everyone has a piece of everybody's story that's up there that they can either take home to use with themselves or to share with someone else. And I guess I kind of do have a question, because some of the things that I experience, a lot of the things that I experience, there are people in my life that I want to and wish to share with, but everybody isn't receptive of the things that you want to give to them to help them. And that's pretty much what I feel like is my purpose, is my passion, and I've learned that over time. I'm in my 40s, and it really took until I got into this age to feel comfortable with doing a lot of the things that I'm doing. But like, my question is, how do you share but not feel like you're like forcing people to do some of the things that they need to do? Like if they need to get a massage, if they need to go to therapy, if they need to eat better, if they need to work out, or how do you kindly say some of these things to the people that you know need it, but you know what I'm trying to say, like they just won't take it lightly.
One of the things I'll share is I try to live my life out loud, and I try to live by example. And so when there's people in my life that maybe aren't as receptive, I'm gonna show you the evidence. This is the way, because look at the fruit, right? And again, it can be caught, not taught. And sometimes I'll tell stories. I think parables were effective in Jesus's day, and I think fiction writing is similar. Maybe they can't receive it if you're hitting them over the head with it, but they can see it in a story. If I tell you my testimony, I did X, Y, and Z and got through it this way, they might be more receptive. Those are some of my thoughts.
Absolutely, I would agree. It's caught, not taught. So within the circle, for instance, and within my circle, I'm a true believer of self-care. I don't care what it is. I don't work on Fridays. I don't care. And so the people around me understand that. And so they notice on social media, or if they're talking to me, Shamara is the most calmest person in America. I am, because I don't let anything get to me. And so I put it up front. And we do have those conversations. Like, I'm real. Like, I'm not trying to, make you feel any type of way. I know that you need this. Just try it. Try it. And if it's a thing of being embarrassed, or, I can't afford it, you know what? Let's go together. So sometimes you have to put yourself in there with them if you really care about them, to say, you know what? Let's do it together. And then we could talk about this. And so from there, once you see that I care enough about you, then we can go from there. So, but if they're not willing to do that, then sometimes they might not be a part of your circle. Yep. And that's another atmosphere that you need to come around back to. Like, I'm giving. I'm showing. Maybe I need to do the reality check of myself. Is like, do I still need to put energy into that?
Mm-hmm. And those are boundaries.
Yeah. A lot of that. I would say for me, I experience it every single day in a restaurant, because of how I started. And I learned how to be in the background a lot more. I used to be like super shy for real. But when I started getting exposure, I had to talk. And like I said, I'm an educator, so I was telling sometimes too much. But I go off of energy. I let God tell me who I need to talk to. Because I could be sitting right there in the restaurant working on some people don't even know that I'm the owner. And I'm what you want? I don't make it known, because I want them to get the tip-top experience without knowing who I am, because they immediately gonna come to me and just start boom, 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 ask all these questions. But sometimes they don't even know what they want. So what I do is I go off of energy, and I learn how to be slow to speak, quick to listen, because everybody don't need what I got. I may not be the one that's supposed to pass the message. I'm not the messenger all the time. They may be coming to bring me a message. So I just go off the energy that I feel. And if it's meant for me to give it, then I'll give it. And if not, I don't. And then last thing, you got to meet people where they at. And even the closest people to you, you got to give everybody some grace, because we didn't get to where we are by not being given grace. So who are we not to give others that?
Yeah. I was just going to say, you can educate all you want, but you have to be willing to accept that individual's capacity to receive education. So, example, my mom gave me a lot of life lessons early on that I just am now catching 15 years later. So your education and your willingness to want them to move along may not be all for naught. They just may not have the ability to hear you right now, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to receive it down the line. So your words are like little seeds being planted. And, we can get frustrated. Some flowers just take over the summer to grow, and then some seeds are like trees that take years and years and years and years to, get to capacity where it's at. So keep doing what you're doing, and just educating doesn't mean you're forcing them. Everybody receives information in a different way. We're all different learners. But as long as you're being genuine and you're feeling like your heart's in a sincere place, there's nothing wrong with that. And if they just blatantly tell you they're just not ready to receive that information, that's okay too. Because like she said, maybe we've all been in that situation where you've told a friend something, they didn't listen, but someone else said the exact same thing and they listened to them. it happens, you know. So we just have to trust that God will give that person the information, whether it's from you or not.
Thank you, ladies, so much for all the jewels, all the nuggets. I'm so glad we recorded this so we could run it back, take notes. We're going to break into our networking time. So for about 20 to 30 minutes, you guys are going to be free to mingle. You're going to be free to engage with the panelists. There are conversation cards on that back table on the left. They're pretty deep, so get ready. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Talk to someone you didn't come here with. Talk to someone you don't know. Use a conversation card. Build connections. Build relationships. This room is filled because I'm an introvert. I know you probably don't know this, but I am. But God was like, your piece is to network. Like, I'm giving you this space, time, creativity, and backing. This is what you need to do, right? So this space is filled because I kept putting myself out of my comfort zone, going on Instagram Lives, talking to the air, repeating my little speech so that I'd be comfortable with my delivery. So this is your opportunity to connect with those that may be your next level. Our next level is locked into relationships. It's locked inside of other people. So in the midst of you guys doing that, we do have a raffle. So hopefully you guys filled out the raffle tickets. My good friend Stephanie has the bowl, so I'll be picking from that. We have 2 bottles of wine from MJ to raffle. We have a book by Jasmine Bailey. She actually is an Emmy Award-winning Fox 8 News journalist. Alicia and I were blessed to interview her with one of our events, The Woman with the Oil. This is a very powerful book about her testimony being set free from domestic abuse. So we're going to be raffling that. And then we have a mug, well, a coffee to go. Actually, I kind of need this, but anyways, I'm like, this is super cute and I need one. I'm going to talk to you later. But Dr. Shamara is gifting this as well. So these are our prizes. Shout out again, Masla Ray, Breaking Sounds. Like, we're just so, Breakthrough Sounds, we're so grateful to just have this time of fellowship and networking. You want to say something? Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you. If you got drink tickets, there's wine. If you didn't, I'm sorry. We're going to try to figure that out next time.